How's it going, everybody? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Friday, March 1st, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moon Base. It's already March. This is crazy. We've gone through so much intensity already in these first 2 months, right? So many conjunctions, massive transits with Pluto, this moon in Scorpio today. You know, it's a lot of deep, intense emotions. And I think what's interesting about this moon in Scorpio today, it's going to square over to Venus at 17 degrees and then make an end conjunction to Chiron and the North Node, right? So I definitely think in our relationships today, in our partnerships, you know, any sort of creative aspect of our life, you know, and when it comes to our desires and our deep needs, I feel like there's a feeling of needs not being met, right? It's like, I need more. I want more. Scorpio is just like, I want more. But I feel like the underlying factor of where the needs aren't being met is where the healing maybe isn't being acknowledged or taking place, you know, where things are still just kind of underlying, are lying underneath the surface. You know, I think we have gone through a lot of transformation and a lot of healing has taken place, but there's still more to get to the bottom of. You know, this moon in Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of things. You know, this Venus in Aquarius, it wants to try new things. It wants to experiment. It wants to find new ways to connect in partnerships and, you know, romantically. You know, this moon in Scorpio, it wants that really solid connection and bond. So it's a little weird with this in conjunction to Chiron and this square over to Venus in Aquarius. You know, this Venus in Aquarius is very not traditional at all. It wants to try things out of the normal, out of boundary, you know, out of bounds, right? Like, it wants to go to places it never has been before, you know. The moon in Scorpio, it wants to feel more secure than what this Venus in Scorpio wants to do, or this Venus in Aquarius wants to do. And we saw it square over to Mars yesterday, so definitely some intensity came up in our partnerships yesterday. And I think today it's like we're seeing more of that, and this moon will oppose Uranus. So it's going to, you know, emotionally, we can have some shocks that kind of come into our lives, you know, that it's associated with our partnerships here. And money, too. We want to be careful with our finances. We want to be careful with our money at this moment. There's definitely a lot of crazy, weird shit going on in the market situation, right? And the stock markets and the Bitcoin shit and all that. So if you have investments, I really look over your investments and your assets and stuff at this moment. Like, this is definitely where things can get kind of volatile and interesting, and things can really change on a dime. So whenever it comes to Venus stuff, you know, our finances, our money, our partnerships, our creative aspects and endeavors, like all these things, there's some friction that really wants to create something new here, you know, and kind of break the comfort zone. This Venus is going to square Uranus over the weekend, so, you know, and Uranus is dispositing Venus. You know, Venus in Aquarius is the ruler of Uranus. So I think Venus is kind of going through some real havoc right now, and there could be some kind of strange, chaotic, unforeseen things that can come into our lives, and you know, we really want to accept how things are changing, you know, and at the same time, it's like, it can really be uncomfortable today. I think this Chiron can get a little triggered today with whatever kind of, you know, intense situations come up in our partnerships and our relationships, and whatever kinds of shocks that can come in with this moon opposing Uranus as all this is happening. So, and I think the shock is going to come after the initial kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming. Like, that was not what we talked about yesterday or, on Saturday and Sunday when we had Sun, Mercury, Saturn conjunction. So there could be some kind of like very abnormal, unexpected things, this moon in Scorpio and Taurus as well, the opposite of Scorpio. It's like, it's fixed energy. It wants to be where it's at. It wants to know for sure that, we're good where we're at. We're solid, and we're bonded and nothing's going to change, right? Well, Aquarius being also fixed energy, but fixed in a way where like it's guaranteed that things are going to change and we're going to make some changes here and it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be weird. But I feel like too, like with Aquarius, and we've been going through this since Pluto moved in and we went through Aquarius season. It's just like we're constantly trying to find new ways to innovate how to go about things in our lives and make big changes. We're still going through this transformation with Pluto and Aquarius. So with Mars and Venus in Aquarius through this whole time, we're still going to be feeling that effect of what was triggered when it crossed Pluto. So like through this whole Venus, Mars, and Aquarius cycle here, like we're feeling the massive transformation. So everything with our physical selves and, the Mars masculine aspect of ourselves and our relationships and our creativity and our finances especially, and anything associated with our feminine energy as well, like is going through a massive transformation. And today that can get really triggered. Like there's big trigger happening. So we're definitely going to see some crazy shit going down in the world today, going into the weekend. And I think it's going to be associated with financial shit, and it's going to really challenge our values. It's going to challenge our social values big time, and it's like people are going to have to band together here and find new ways and kind of like separate from whatever kind of system that we've kind of been going along with, that we've just kind of accepted. Aquarius doesn't just accept things. It wants to find new ways to, break the patterns, break the habits. So we're going to have to make some big adjustments with this trigger point. Like this moon is really setting shit off, and it can really be intense emotionally. This moon's in its detriment in Scorpio. So it's not at its happiest place, especially squaring over to Venus. And Venus in Aquarius definitely is not happy there, So Jupiter and Uranus have been kind of going through it. And it's like, look, we have to be willing to expand our beliefs and make big changes and make radical shifts in our lives with Uranus and, try new things. We don't want to be stuck at this moment. So, we had a very big, deep spiritual experience through this past week and last weekend with the full moon. And we're feeling very deep. We're feeling our spirituality like in the deepest way at this moment. But I think too, like we have to really make big changes in our personal lives and in our relationships, because there's this like multi-layered energy going on like in the higher realms of Aquarius and Pisces, but at the same time in these like early fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, it's like, look, we really have to get down to the physical as well and operate in both. It's like we have to focus on our physical health, our physical kind of surroundings, and our environment at the same time with Mercury and Pisces. Like it can be kind of like we're not seeing our environment clearly here. So our environment's connected to what is happening within our relationships at this moment today with this moon making this big trigger point to Venus and opposing Uranus and getting a little weird with Chiron. So we want to really like do the best we can to keep our environment clean. It's easy to kind of let things go, let the dishes pile up with all this Pisces energy too, and things can get really spiritual, but at the same time, it's like, well, like what is real? Like, are we being practical? Are we being realistic? So this moon is really like calling us to really get down to the nitty gritty, and get to the bottom of things, There's definitely some underlying issues with this moon making this in conjunction to Chiron as it's squaring Venus, all at 17 degrees, where, we can feel like there's something missing. There's a piece missing here, and really it may not have to do with the other person in the relationship. It may be something to do with yourself, with this Chiron in Aries. It's like it might be more associated with yourself, and it's like, what are you not giving to yourself? What are you not fulfilling for yourself? But you can put the blame on some other situation or some other person with this moon square Venus. It's like that may not be the case. It may be more connected to this Chiron situation with this moon aspecting Chiron in a very strange way today, And I think when the moon opposes Uranus, it's like, bam, the light bulb can come on and be like, oh, that's what it was. I should have known. I should have seen that much more clearly. And then you can really get to the truth. Scorpio wants to get to the truth. So it's think about it. Like Sagittarius comes after Scorpio. So Scorpio wants to get to the truth. It wants to get to the bottom of things to find the truth, And you may have to dig a little deeper than you may have, gone before into weird places to really get to the nitty gritty. So today can be kind of shocking, and going into the weekend can be kind of shocking too. So whatever is coming up, we want to be prepared for it and stand our ground, but also be willing to make changes and go with, the flow here. Mercury and Pisces, it's like, we can go with the flow. But the challenge is to just not be in this fixed T-square here. We want to be really being able to let go, and that's the message we got with Mercury and the Sun and Saturn over this past week. It's like, hey, there's a lot of fixed energy going on. It's easy to get stuck right now in your mind, and in yourself, in your physical being, with Mars here as well. But the Sun and Mercury and Neptune, it really wants us to be able to say, hey, when you feel stuck, when you feel like you can't make a change or nothing is changing at all, that's not necessarily the case. You want to let the divine take over. And that is the message that we're getting here. And Mercury will conjunct Neptune later going into next week. So, yeah, later next week. And then that's when we'll see, we'll get a even more broader picture of what this Cazimi point with Saturn and Mercury was all about. So it's not really over. The conversation's not really over yet. We still have a few weeks to kind of work things out, and then we'll have the Sun conjunct Neptune, and that's when it'll really be illuminated in a way of like, hey, this is what it was all about. And then we'll have the new moon in Pisces. So I think if we think ahead a little bit and kind of zoom out, and this is what Mercury in Pisces is good at, is being able to zoom out and kind of see beyond, is that as intense as things can get with this moon in Scorpio, making these squares and oppositions to Venus and Uranus, and this weird angle to Chiron, we want to zoom out a little bit and step back and know that it's all going to work out in Pisces season. And Pisces always reminds us, no matter how crazy and wild things can get or how much it could feel like this is the end, right? It's not necessarily the case. It's just about not getting stuck in trying to control things. And it's really hard now. You got to kind of play both sides of the field, You got to stand your ground, hold your value, know your values, and not just, lower your standards. Moon square Venus, it's really, it could challenge you to lower your standards. It's like, hey, my needs aren't being met over here, right? So I'm going to go lower my standards over here and just get what I need, right? That's not the place we want to be right now. We want to just let go and know it's all going to work out. By the time you get to the Mercury and Sun conjunct Neptune with the new moon and all that good stuff, spiritually, it's like we're leveling up. The frequency is amplifying spiritually. And I think that's, if we think about it from a higher plane, we're getting this big upgrade and this big download at this moment because we are about to go through some radical shit here when Venus and Mars square Uranus. We're going to see some crazy shit go down. and in our personal lives and in the world, like but no matter what happens, we have to learn to let go and know that it was meant to be this way to get us to the next place, to help liberate humanity. I mean, that's what Aquarius is all about, is liberating ourselves from where things just are not working out. And, if it's just been the same old, and the same shit playing out over and over, all this Aquarius energy and Uranian energy is going to force us to really step outside the box and find new ways of doing shit, because things are about to change big time. We got to think about this too. It's like we zoom out a little further, and I know we're getting into very Neptune land right now, but we're not that far away from the eclipses. So whatever these trigger points are happening is leading up to these eclipses. And then we're going to have Venus conjunct Neptune, right before the eclipses. So we definitely want to have all the checks checked, be prepared and not just check out and one of two things. You don't want to just check out at this moment and just escape, or think that you're in control and try to overdo things. It's very easy with Moon Square Venus today to overdo shit, and feel like you just have to take the wheel and drive the ship. It's like, we're in Pisces season. We could take our hands off the wheel a little bit and let faith drive, and that's the place that we want to be. So, yeah, I mean, by the time we get to the eclipse season, the whole vibe is going to shift, because then we're going to have Mercury retrograde during the eclipses as well. So we've had all planets direct, so we've been really locking it in here and laying all the pieces out. Like, this is what we want to manifest for the future here. Like, we only get this little window of all planets direct. And I know it's Mercury direct. It doesn't happen often, so it's, it's not as big of a deal. Mercury retrograde is probably the least biggest deal. Not all the retrogrades to me, Thank God we're not going to have Venus or Mars retrograde through, 98% of the year. December 5th, though, Mars will retrograde in Leo, and it will oppose Pluto in Capricorn, because it'll retrograde back into Cancer. So it's going to be interesting. But this is the moment where we want to be laying all the pieces, and also letting go and trusting and having faith. And we have the King of Wands today. So, like, the magic is in our hands. The power is in our hands, like, we are the masters of our own destiny. That's what this is reminding us too. But, we have to trust our instincts. We have to really trust our instincts. To me, like, this little reptile on this King of Wands card always reminds me of just trusting our instincts. It's like that fight or flight sense of being. It's just like, when events take place, it's just like instincts take over, right? There's no thought involved with the King of Wands. Like, it just is, So, and it's also like being able to embrace the difficult stuff, but in a magical, potent way, because it's all right in front of you. You have it right in front of you. You have everything you need right in front of you at this moment. You don't need anything more. And I think with this Moon Square Venus today, like, that's kind of the challenge. Is like, I need more. I need more of this, more of that. I'm not getting enough over here, and that may not be true. It may be something within yourself with this moon quincunxing over to Chiron that needs to be addressed. Just about yourself. It's nothing outside of you. It's not somebody else. It's within you and yourself, and really it's connected to the ego. It's like, I wanted it to be this way. I wanted it to look like this. And it's like, well, with this Chiron situation here, it's like, it's not always going to be that way, But as long as we have faith and we trust the divine, which is what Pisces season always reminds us. It's what this Saturn-Mercury Cazimi conjunction with the sun is reminding us. Is like, we have to have faith, because things are getting more intense each day. Like, it's amplifying every day in our personal lives, in the world. And it's like, yeah, the eclipse season is going to be a wild one. So Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, and I'll see y'all for the weekend. Peace out.